Hello students. So during last lecture we have completed the zeroth law of thermodynamics, and today we are going to see what is control volume, control surface. These are the two important terms which are frequently used in thermodynamics. Okay, control volume and control surface. What is control volume? A specified large number of thermal devices has mass flow in and out of system called control volume. A specified large number of thermal devices has mass flow in and out of system called control volume. For example, you take the example of thermal power plant where mass flow rate is there in and out. So such a systems are considered as a control volume. So in diagram you see that the control volume, control surface. So the dotted line shows the control surface. Here mass flow is there. Okay. What is control surface? Both mass and energy can cross the boundary of a control volume, which is called control surface. Both mass and energy can cross the boundary of a control volume, which is called control surface. Now control volume. Control volume, fixed volume over which mass can pass in and out of its boundary. The mass within a control volume may or may not be constant. If there is a fluid flow in and out, there may or may not be accumulation of mass within the control volume. Now you see these diagrams, control volume, potentially variable mass, open. So that means this is an open system. Mass interaction is there. And in another diagram you see control volume. Here you see the diagram, control volume and control surface is there. We have taken into consider air compressor. So air compressor is started with the electrical motor. So work in is there. From other side low pressure air is given to this compressor, and after the process of compression we can take the high pressure air out, and due to this some amount of heat is generated, and that heat is dissipated by the gasket which is provided, or cooling jacket which is provided there, and that heat is absorbed and given to the atmosphere. So heat out is there. In this first diagram you see that energy can enter into the control volume or lose the control volume, and in the same way mass also lose the control volume, mass also enter into the control volume. Now heat and work, these are the two forms of energy. These are not the properties of the any thermodynamic system. Sometimes there is confusion. Some students may consider they are the properties, but you keep in mind that heat and work are not properties of the thermodynamic system, but both are forms of energy and both are interchangeable with each other. Heat and work are two different ways of transferring energy from one system to another. The distinction between is important in the field of thermodynamics. Heat is the transfer of thermal energy between systems, while work is the transfer of mechanical energy between two systems. This distinction between the microscopic motion heat and macroscopic motion work is crucial to how thermodynamic processes work. Heat can be transferred into work and vice versa. See mechanical equivalent of heat. But they aren't the same thing. The first law of thermodynamics states that heat and work both contribute to the total internal energy of system, but the second law of thermodynamics limits the amount of heat that can be turned into work. So heat and iron both are forms of energy. Both are measured in same unit, joules or kilojoules. Both are boundary phenomena. So that means their transfer is only observed on these boundaries, whether it is entered into the bond system or out to the surrounding or vice versa. So these two terms are important as far as this thermodynamics is concerned. So what is main difference? The second law allows work to be transferred fully into heat. The second law allows work to be transferred fully into it, but forbids heat to be totally converted into work. If heat could be transferred fully into work, it would violate the law of entropy. The maximum amount of work one can attain from heat is given by the Carnot efficiency. Heat is the energy associated with the random motion of particles, while work is the energy of ordered motion in one direction. Therefore, heat is low quality energy and work is a high quality energy, and in this supports the entropy statement of second law. Okay, so this is something about the heat and work. Now heat. The heat, which is denoted by the capital letter Q, the heat Q that must be supplied or removed to change the temperature of a substance of mass m by an amount delta T is, or heat added or rejected. In simple words, heat added or rejected is given by the formula Q is equal to mc delta T, mass into specific heat into rise in temperature or difference in temperature, where C is the specific heat capacity of the substance. Unit for specific heat capacity, SI joules per kg degree centigrade, CGS calorie per gram centigrade. How much heat is required to raise the temperature of 70 gram of water from 20 degrees centigrade to 80 centigrade? So this example we have taken into consideration to calculate the heat. How much heat is required to raise the temperature of 70 gram of water from 20 degree to 80 degrees centigrade? So specific heat, the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of substance by 1 degree is called a specific heat. So this term is also important. What is a specific heat? The amount of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of substance by 1 degree is called a specific heat. So specific heat is given by a mathematical formula. Heat capacity divided by mass in grams is equal to heat absorbed divided by rise in temperature into mass in gram. Molar heat capacity is equal to heat capacity divided by molar mass. Units of specific heat and molar capacity are joules per Kelvin gram and joules per Kelvin mole respectively. Now heat supplied is equal to mass into specific heat into rise in temperature, that is Q is equal to mCs into delta T. The heat capacity of system, especially in a gaseous system, determined at constant volume is different from that at constant pressure. At constant volume, Q is delta E. If the volume is constant, then at constant volume the heat is delta E. So heat capacity at constant volume per mole, Cv is equal to delta E divided by delta T at constant volume. At constant pressure, Q is equal to delta H. So heat capacity at constant pressure per mole, Cp is equal to delta H dt at P, where Cp and Cv are molar heat capacities at constant pressure and constant value. Now latent heat. Now when we start to add the heat, there are two types of heats, sensible heat and latent heat. So that heat added up to its saturation temperature is nothing but the sensible heat. So here temperature as well as heat of that matter is increased, and after that during the phase change, if the heat addition is continuous, that heat is called as a latent heat, and the latent heat is a constant temperature heat addition process. Latent heat. When a solid melts or liquid boils, energy must be added but the temperature remains constant. So during latent heat addition, phase change is there but temperature remains constant. This can be explained by considering that it makes energy to break the bonds holding the material together. The amount of energy it takes to melt or boil a certain amount of material is called a latent heat. So this is most important. The amount of energy it takes to melt or boil a certain amount of material is called a latent heat. Latent heat of sublimation, solid to liquid, latent heat of fusion. So we call, whenever there is a phase change from solid to liquid, latent heat of fusion, and to conversion of liquid to vapor, latent heat of vaporization is there. So that means latent heat is heat added at constant temperature, and that is heat added for the phase change. So from solid to liquid, latent heat of fusion, and liquid to vapor, latent heat of vaporization. Now point function and path functions. A point function, also known as a state function, is a function whose value depends on the final and initial states of the thermodynamic process, irrespective of the path followed by the process. So that means whenever there is a process which is occurred between state 1 and 2, so their values depends on only end states, not depends upon by which way the process reached from state 1 to 2. So this is called as a point function. Example of point functions are density, enthalpy, internal energy, entropy. So that means these are the properties and their values are only depends upon the end states, not upon the path followed. So all properties are the point functions, and when any quantity is a point function, then definitely we call it as a point property of the thermodynamic system. A point function is a property of the system, or we can say all the properties of the system are point functions. Point functions are exact or perfect differentials. Path functions. A path function is a function whose value depends on path followed by the thermodynamic process, irrespective of the initial and final states of the process. So heat and work are the path functions. Their values not depends upon their end states, but values depends upon the by which way that is going from one state to another state. So this is a path function, and examples of both path function is work done in a thermodynamic process. Work done in a thermodynamic process is depend on the path followed by the process. A path function is an exact or imperfect differential. So that means point functions are exact or perfect differentials, and path functions are inexact or imperfect inflection. What are the path functions? So this is again explained with the help of these derivations of the formulas, which are very useful for the understanding of the what are the path function. So path functions, we have exact differentials designated by the symbol delta, example delta q and delta w. Point functions have exact differentials designated by the symbol delta, example delta v. Properties are point functions, but heat and work are path functions. As I already told you that these are the differentiation between path and point functions. Thank you.